Welcome to Renegade Thinkers Unite, a show that will help you transform your marketing from mere messaging to programs that break the rules and make a difference. Join the movement today and learn non-traditional techniques that give you an edge. Now, here's your Chief Marketing Renegade, Drew Nizer.
One of my favorite events each year is the PSF Conference that's run by my longtime friend Piers Fox, and it's amazing. It's an amazing conference, and what I enjoy about it is that every year, or maybe every other year, I get to meet someone, an amazing person that's way ahead of the curve. A couple of years ago, that was Daniel Lebetsky, who's the founder of Kind Snacks, and I stalked him after the event and got an interview with him and included him in my book. And the man I'm about to introduce you to, I also met and saw present at the PSFK conference. Totally blown away. I was among the 90% of the audience that was in tears during his presentation. It's an amazing story, and I can't wait for you to hear it. But after he presented, I was like the first one out, went into the green room and just got in front of them. And so I'm here today with Coss Marte. Is it Marte, by the way?
Yes.
I'm so happy I got that right. Should have checked that in advance. But so Coss is the founder and CEO of ConBody, which is one of the fastest growing fitness programs in New York. And I suspect at some point, for those of you not in New York, you'll be hearing about it really soon. So first, Coss, just welcome to Renegade Thinkers Unite.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it, Joe.
So before you started ConBody, you actually were an entrepreneur before that. Talk a little bit about some of the, I know you were making a fair amount of money by the age of 19. You had a lot of people working for you. Tell me, what were some of the things that you learned from your first entrepreneurial experience?
Throughout my first entrepreneurial experience, I believe, I've learned a lot. I learned how to read people. I learned how to manage people. I learned how to market and ask and create a different, innovative way of thinking outside the box. Like changing the way we do things typically in a certain business. The business existed already. There was tons of people, tons of competition doing it, but the way we did it was different. And just pivoting that, to make that, unique and finding a different way of doing it was very, very, incognito, I would say.
So let me ask you, so the business that we're talking about here, is, selling drugs, and, that is a highly competitive business. But you were really successful at it. And who taught you how to manage 20 people?
Nobody taught me how to manage 20 people. It started off with, myself, sitting on a milk crate in front of a bodega selling crack and coke and weed. And I was out there 24 hours a day, but I couldn't manage it myself. So how do I duplicate myself? I try to find somebody and train them and duplicate myself, which is impossible, but you do what you can and you manage and you just set, priorities and expectations, and that's how we did it.
So just before we get off of this and get onto your business, how successful were you? How much by the age of, I think I heard you say you were making some millions.
Yeah, so by the age of 19, I was making over $2 million a year. It was insane and crazy. We were selling about 2 kilos every week and a half.
And then the trouble started.
Yeah. I was incarcerated at 23. Everything shut down, and at 23 I was sentenced to 7 years in prison.
And so that's a long time. And you talk a little bit about your prison experience and what sort of got you into fitness in the first place.
So my prison experience was, I don't know. I felt like I was going through a revolving door again. I was in Rikers Island multiple times as a kid growing up. I been in and out of jail 10 times from the ages of 13 to 27. So I went back and I even knew some of the officers that were on duty and was looking at me like, hey, what's up? Here we go again. You know, it was just a revolving door. And the reason why I got into fitness was, because when I went upstate, that's when I first really got my first medical examination and was told that I could die in prison because of my health issues. They told me I probably had 5 years to live because of my cholesterol levels were extremely high and I was extremely unhealthy.
So how did you get yourself in shape, and what did you do?
As soon as they told me this, I went back to my cell unit and I started doing like dips off the side of my bed, push-ups, lunges, and any type of exercise I probably knew. I did a few exercises and I probably lasted about 5 minutes. And then I just like passed out on my bed and laid there and just thought to myself, like, I need to take this time and really take advantage of the time and concentrate on myself, my body, my mind. And, the next morning I woke up and I started running. I started running the yard, and in the yard, people were calling me like Fat Forrest Gump and all this crazy stuff and honey bun jokes. And, there's a cell block right in front of the yard, which is called S block, which is the solitary confinement unit where you're in 23-hour lockdown and 1 hour rec. And the 1 hour rec was in front of like the prison yard, and it's this cage that they stay there. So they're looking over me and screaming from S block and telling me all these crazy things, but sometimes I gave them the finger, sometimes I argued back with them, but most of the time I just like put my head down and kept running, and it was my time to like it was a sense of freedom, you know, and a sense of escape, just, you know, running and focusing and meditation. And people would see me out there and just thought I was crazy because I was the only person running.
And then eventually, though, you lost a lot of weight, and so you also helped some prisoners do the same. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I lost 70 pounds in 6 months, and then I helped over 20 inmates who was over 1,000 pounds combined. I didn't mean to like go up to inmates and like start. I didn't go up to anybody and try to help them out in any fitness levels or goals or whatever. There was this one guy who came up to me, and basically, spoke to me and was like, you know, I want to start working out with you. And I basically told him like, I used to look like you, and this is after I lost all the weight, and he didn't know me before. And he was like, stop lying. And I showed him like my before and after picture, my prison photo ID. And he was like, get the fuck out of here. That's not you. And I was like, yeah, that was me. And we started running the yard, and then he got his friends, and we started forming a circle, and we started leading exercises, and, it just became like a group and a camaraderie that we, got together every time we had rec and would work out together.
You've been listening to another great interview on Renegade Thinkers Unite with Drew Nizer. But the value doesn't end there. As a listener, you can download a free ebook from Drew, Renegade Thinkers, interviews with 11 trailblazing CMOs any business can learn from. Get your free copy at renegadethinkersunite.com/ebook. For listeners only at renegadethinkersunite.com/ebook.
Then you get out of prison. And what inspired you to start ConBody?
What inspired me to start ConBody was, while I was incarcerated. Not even after I helped all these guys lose weight. I had an experience that happened to me while I was in solitary confinement towards the end of my incarceration that, I call it a spiritual awakening that basically I needed to wake up and I needed to stop doing what I did. I was still selling drugs while I was incarcerated and making hooch, like $5 gallons a week, under my bed and selling like $5 cups. Like I was all about the hustle and making money and just like doing something. But I started realizing and reflecting on my life that I was affecting so many people in my life and so many people that I sold drugs to. And I started realizing that I was creating a web of destruction. And for the first time, I started praying and asking God, how can I give back? And there's where ConBody was born. I felt like I was already helping inmates, work out and, do stuff. And I wrote out my whole program while I was in solitary confinement, and I was released a year later. And when I came home, I started doing it in the local parks. From the local parks, I started renting out studio spaces. From the studio spaces, we started, reaching out and looking for other space to permanent space. And we raised enough money and found our location down here where we are today in Lower East Side.
So, and by the way, we're at the Lower East Side, at the location, and you have to see it to believe it, but I will take lots of pictures and we'll share them on the show notes page. By the way, you have to watch Coss's TEDx talk. I'll link to that or embed that on the show notes page as well. One of the things that you talked about was how hard it is for convicts to get jobs or get real estate. I'm just in awe of the fact that you had the courage to submit a business plan to defy. I mean, that in and of itself reflects a lot on you. You had a lot of doors shut on you, though. What sort of kept you going?
What kept me going was, there was no escaping it. It was either this works out or there's no other choice, I was, had the door shut in my face numerous amount of times while I was looking for jobs and sustainable living, jobs. I came home. The first job I had was, scrubbing, toilets at this reconstructed hotel for $8 an hour, and I was sleeping on my mom's couch, paying her like $300 a month for to live on her couch, which is like half of her rent in the Lower East Side. But see, it was a struggle. It was not livable. It was not sustainable, and I needed something. I needed an escape, and I found the Defy program, defyventures.org, which helped me reconstruct my business plan, and teach me the transferable skills from illegal entrepreneur to legal entrepreneur, and do it the right way. And that's what I did. I basically trust the process, and they told me if I do this and do that and, keep moving on the righteous path, that everything will work out no matter what.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive deep into ConBody marketing, which I will tell you is one of the tightest, most well-conceived brands that any marketer would be thrilled to have in their portfolio. It's just so well thought through. So we'll be right back.
Renegade Thinkers Unite is brought to you by Social Media Explorer, the website that explores the world of social media from the inside out. Great advice from today's leading social media columnists and experts at socialmediaexplorer.com. That's socialmediaexplorer.com.
Okay, we're back, and my guest is Coss Marte, the founder of ConBody, and we're going to spend the next part of the show diving deep into the ConBody brand and really get at why this is such an inspirational brand and on so many different levels. So first, my question for you is just how'd you get to the name? I know you didn't start there. Just talk a little bit about the name ConBody.
So ConBody stands for convict body. What we do is a prison style boot camp that hires formerly incarcerated individuals to teach our fitness classes. So, That's not the first name we came up with. When I started the company, it was called Coss Athletics. And our tagline was prison style boot camp, but it was in a small font that nobody could see, and it was pretty deceiving. Everybody just thought it was some regular like fitness type of thing. And people would come and I would tell them this is a prison style boot camp. This is all derived from my prison experience and blah, blah, blah. And I tell them my whole story. And there was a few times that, people, just walked away and didn't want to, deal with somebody that's been incarcerated, or didn't respect the fact that somebody, did something wrong back then and we should X them out forever. And I've had experiences where I start a class and I share my story and somebody's, looking at me weird and I'm like, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. And they just like pick up their bags and leave. And they're like, don't touch me or don't even speak to me. And I felt discriminated against a few times. But I kept moving. And then my ex-girlfriend and I, we were sitting down and I always wanted to change the name and rebrand. And what I thought about was ConFit. And that's the name I really wanted to go with. And ConFit, the domain was taken as Confi, like the European brand. And I'm like, shit, like the domain was going for like $6,500. And I'm like, I don't have $6,500 to give up for a domain. So she went with Body, and then we connected both of them and we came up with ConBody together, while we were sitting and just like drinking wine and and
it was a creative moment. Okay. Yeah. And then the tagline.
Yeah. So tagline was do the time. So like you come in, you do the time, you commit yourself to, your body, an hour a day or 30 minutes a day, to do the time. And that's, if you don't do the time or whatever that tagline is, the crime or whatever it is, but that's where we got it from. It was like, matching it up to the prison lingo.
There's a lot of conversation in marketing about purpose-driven brands, and I know that this is a passion project. I think you've described it as sort of missionary work and even a movement. Talk about really the purpose of this brand besides just getting a bunch of people more fit.
I mean, what we're doing now is going back into the jail system in Rikers Island, where I spent a couple years in there. And now we're training the inmates to become certified trainers. So we're wanting to create a direct pipeline from the inside out and give somebody an opportunity as soon as they come out to work with us. That's the goal. We started that program a little while back, but we're doing that 3-4 times a week. We were just doing that voluntarily, every so often. But now we have a set contract with the city to do that. And, right now we have, 17 people on our team, 2 that haven't been formally incarcerated individuals, but, most of the employees have been incarcerated or have gotten in trouble with the law, and it's working.
Given the large potential workforce for you, I don't think you're necessary. I mean, it's an amazing thing, but you have an ample supply, and you're giving folks like yourself a way out of a pretty brutal system. So your purpose is really to help ex-convicts find their way and adopt a movement. Now, you've talked a lot about your target audience. That's the next thing, that when you're first getting started, you sort of notice something, a particular group. Talk about the initial target, and I have to say, I suspect it's still that way.
Yeah, I mean, our target market is, I was just working out in the park, and it was just a whole different world when I came home. in 2013, I started seeing so many people working out, running and jogging. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, this was not happening, back in the day. And I started going up to females in yoga pants, cause, that's who I saw, that every girl was wearing like yoga pants, and they was doing either like walking around with their yoga mats or pretending that they were doing yoga, or, but that's the people that I went up to, and I started working, and that's primarily our clientele now, which is 80% female young professionals from 25 to 35 years old.
Well, I have to say that very few brands have an audience that is quite as well defined as females in yoga pants. But funny enough, I told folks at the office that I was coming down to interview you, and sure enough, the four younger female employees had all heard of ConBody. Most of them have said, I've been there. Others said, or one said had been there. The other said, my friend's been there. And they all wanted to go there and felt part of the brand. So somehow or other, the word is spread. But you've had a lot to do with that. Obviously, you've done been successful with PR. But you also have a very personal approach to this. I mean, you get out there and meet these folks.
Yeah. I mean, I share my story about 20 times a day, and I stop random people and I like go up to everyone who I think works out, or, and I ask them like, do you know about ConBody? Which is funny is like 3 days ago, I was sitting in this restaurant, and there's the bartender there I'm good friends with, and I sit at the bar all the time and like eat my food there, and as SOTS goes, and every person that came up to me next sitting there, I asked them like, do you know about ConBody? And she was like, I'm gonna get you a t-shirt, and it's gonna say, do you know about ConBody? And I was like, great idea. And she started laughing. And there's been times where I've stood on the train and like said, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. I have one thing that I want to know about me, and like tell my story, and I'll tell them about ConBody. And, I mean, I've just get out there, act a fool, and like just speak about it.
I hardly think you're acting a fool. What is interesting is you are living your brand, you are wearing your brand, you are the embodiment of what it means to both be fit in mind and spirit. And I think that for any entrepreneur out there who is hoping that they can have someone else deliver their message, forget about that and take note of what Coss is doing here. I can just imagine you're on a subway and it's like you're doing your TED Talk, but just about. But it is such a great, compelling is a better term, compelling story. And it's funny, you remind me very much of Daniel Lebetsky, who will often tell his story, but he does it in a slightly different way. He will be on a subway, he'll see someone do a kind act, and he'll say, I noticed that you did that. I'll hand him 2 kind bars and say, here's one for you and one for you to pay it forward. But it's the same notion of being out there and talking to people. And you know, if I put it in my give to get economy world, you're giving, you're giving folks things to think about, and boy, do they get something amazing. Let's talk about the experience of working out at ConBody. I'm at the studio. I see a very stark brick wall. I see lockers. And cell bars, and there's a sign that says no shoes in the cell. And it's quite minimalist, if not completely prison-like. Just talk about that experience and what that means to your customers.
Yeah, so I came up with the whole like branding idea. I was tired of hiding that I was an ex-felon, and every time I went to fill out an application, I had to check the box, yes, that I'm a formerly incarcerated ex-felon or whatever. And I was tired of it. I was tired of hiding. I was tired of feeling ashamed what I did. I mean, I'm not proud of what I did, but I was tired of like hiding it, and it felt like it was a burden, and I wanted to tell people about it. And I was frustrated. I was working at doing an internship, and I was working at this not-for-profit that was helping formerly incarcerated people, and staff members there would talk stuff about formerly incarcerated people and tell them that they'll end up in prison. Like, behind their back, they will talk about like they will never amount to anything. And I'm hearing all this stuff, not knowing that I'm a formerly incarcerated person. And then I blurbed it out, and I was like, I've been locked up, and I left the job, and I started ConBody. And but that's one thing. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna own it. There was a while back when I was renting out the studio spaces in Lafayette Street that I spoke to a reporter from Well and Good, Lisa, I forgot her last name, but Lisa. She said, "What's your goal for ConBody?" I said, "I want to build an actual prison. I want people to wear maybe a prison outfit to work out with. So, take their mugshot when they come in." And that's the experience that I wanted to create. And when I got the opportunity to do it, and she wrote about it, I was like, shit, I have to really do this shit now. So I as soon as we started designing the studio, I already knew exactly what I wanted, how I wanted it to look. We have signs with like 5-minute showers, like, don't drop the soap type of deal. And like, might come out with my soap on a rope brand. But yeah, things of that nature. And it's just minimal space. We have no equipment. It's all body weight stuff. It's exactly the same way I worked out in a prison cell, just using limited space, my own body weight to get that prison body you always desired.
That's just so funny the way you put that, and the sense of humor that you bring to this is also an important part of it.
You've been listening to another great interview on Renegade Thinkers Unite with Drew Nizer. As a listener, you can download a free ebook from Drew, Renegade Thinkers, interviews with 11 trailblazing CMOs any business can learn from. Get your free copy at renegadethinkersunite.com/ebook. For listeners only, at renegadethinkersunite.com/ebook.
The notion that you're authentic to the core is critical. It was just an interesting article recently on Yoplait and the New York Times, and they struggled to come up with a Greek yogurt. Why? There was no authenticity anywhere near it. I mean, it's a brand that has sort of French-sounding heritage, and they finally had to figure out a way to just sort of own that. And it's just interesting because these are professional marketers, and you get that instinctually. So now the brand is expanded well beyond the studio that we're in now. You have something going with Saks Fifth Avenue. Let's talk about that, because that is building a prison aesthetic in Saks is must have been a different experience.
Yeah. So we were granted the opportunity to open up our ConBody location inside Saks Fifth Avenue, which is totally unheard of. And Saks probably would never think of having a prison style boot camp on their second floor on their flagship store, to being ran by ex-convicts. Like, that was just unheard of idea. And I basically was granted the opportunity to do that. I was speaking at a conference, and this lady came up to me afterwards. Didn't know who she was. She basically said, "I want to help you." And back in my head, I'm like, how the fuck are you going to help me? And, she's like, "Don't worry, I'm going to help you. I'm going to shoot you an email." So we exchanged, information, and she reaches out and says, "Saks opportunity" in the subject line. And I'm like, what? And I didn't believe it until we got on the phone and we sat down, and she was like, "Look, I'm the head of this wellness project at Saks, and we're going to open up this wellness center. It's going to be called the Saks Wellery in 3 months. Can you make it happen?" And I was like, fuck yeah. So we went in, we built out the space in like a month, actually like 2 weeks. It was crazy how big and fast we built it. But it went all up, and it's been running for about a month and a half now, and it's doing pretty well.
Do you ever sort of shake your head and go, I can't believe I have a studio in Saks? It's like, that's not possible.
I mean, every time I go up the escalator to the second floor, I start smiling because the first thing you see on the floor is like a mannequin with a ConBody t-shirt on. And I'm like, this is insane.
So, one of the things, so now we move from the physical experience. You also have something going with ConBody Live. Talk about the inspiration for that and how that's going. And
yeah, so ConBody Live is a virtual platform where you could virtually work out with a formerly incarcerated individual. So basically, you choose your favorite ex-con for $5 a month. You could subscribe. All you need is your little small space, and it's like 10 to 20 minute workout videos with no equipment. Just follow our lead and we'll give you that prison body you want. We've already had over 3,500 people subscribed from 22 different countries around the world. And it's going really well. We actually, working on building an app. We're doing a Kickstarter, launching it next week, Thursday. And we're going to put that out there so we could raise money for this app and build a platform much better so it could be sustainable and hold as many people as possible on our platform. Our goal is to reach 100,000 people and hire 50 ex-cons to join our platform.
Renegade Thinkers Unite is brought to you by Social Media Explorer, the website that explores the world of social media from the inside out. Great advice from today's leading social media columnists and experts at socialmediaexplorer.com. That's socialmediaexplorer.com.
As we sort of bring this episode to a close, what would you say have been a couple of the toughest lessons that you've learned as an entrepreneur?
I don't know. There's a lot of tough lessons, especially dealing with the demographic of people that I'm dealing with. I've had guys who've had homelessness issues and they're living on my couch, and it's more like a psychiatrist and dealing with like a larger amount of issues than just like coming into work and somebody's arguing about whatever. It's deeper, and people that have problems with parole, and as an entrepreneur, you just don't know what's going to happen, what you have to deal with. You don't know what you're going to sign up with. You just got to roll with the punches, and I've been definitely rolling with the punches and just figuring it out, and my whole intention is that everything's going to work out no matter what. If I keep going and I keep delivering a great product, no matter what, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to live life. And that's how I live my life.
And from a marketing perspective, is there anything that's happened so far from a marketing standpoint that worked really well that you weren't expecting it to?
One thing was, I would say like the BuzzFeed videos that we put out there. We partnered up with BuzzFeed, and they have, a huge, reach. We got millions of people watching how I can make a jail burrito in my hotel room. And I have like a tutorial on that. And also another video, which has, I think, 8 million views now. It's men working out in prison, how we go into prison and train the inmates and give them hope, and how they see us, and that went really, really viral. We've had a lot of videos go viral, which has helped us in our marketing, with our social media marketing and just getting our word out there. I was in Spain, and I got stopped by this guy, and he called me Khan, and I said my last name is Body. He's like, I heard you in this thing, and it's just insane. It's insane how the word has spread it, and so many people have known and supported, and that's what I'm really surprised, is that so many people has been, partnering up with us and helping us move and really taking us to the next level.
Doesn't surprise me, and it sort of fits into, describe great marketers as having 4 characteristics, and I'm going to just show you why you have all 4 of these things. It's an acronym called CATS, and the first one is courage. And I always say you have to have the courage to be unique and be authentic and be yourself. And obviously, you are, and everything about this is pure and back to the brand and the brand purpose. So you have the courage of owning it, as you said. There's a lot of artfulness in it, and the typeface, the way you communicate, the time. There's also a sense of humor that's just underlying it all, and I think that, if you will, it does take the edge off it. That is important here. I mean, these are workouts. This is, we're not in prison, although the brand is connected to helping ex-prisoners. I think the thoughtfulness, which is the T in CATS, is there's so many different aspects of it, and I think that's what gives your brand integrity, is that you are going back to correctional institutions and you're helping these convicts trying to get their physical lives together and hopefully their professional lives. There's also the thoughtfulness in just that you have different employee challenges that other employers don't have, and that takes a lot of thoughtfulness in terms of how you deal with it. And then the last is sort of scientific, and you're addressing that in several ways. One is like you immediately knew how many people had already participated online, but I think just your ability to think of your brand as something beyond the studio space is really important. And a lot of brands struggle, and you got there pretty darn quickly. So I think it's an incredible story. I just want to know how can folks find you online, and are there ways that they can sort of help?
Yeah, so if you want to find us online, it's ConBody.com. That's ConBody.com. And you could subscribe to our videos there. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, like our Facebook page, get our monthly newsletters, and, know about our personal stories. And we're putting out videos out there, telling our unique personal background stories and how ConBody is really helping formerly incarcerated individuals, one person at a time.
Coss, thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thank you, Drew. I really appreciate it.
So if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast channel. That could be iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Overcast FM. And even if you really like it, feel free to write a review. Until next time, keep those renegade thoughts a-coming.
This has been Renegade Thinkers Unite, but it doesn't end there. Just go to renegadethinkersunite.com for more and subscribe to the show. That way, you'll never miss an episode. We'll talk with you next time on Renegade Thinkers Unite.